man, my friends, welcome on back to the channel. Thank you so much for being here, for joining me here on this most beautiful day that it is today. It is 12:30 in the afternoon over here in sunny Orlando. It is not looking like rain outside. Wherever you are, hope that the weather is doing well. Let's go ahead and, if you don't mind, I mean, you're here. If you don't mind, let's do a full album listen of Violator, Depeche Mode. Yeah, because why not? It's time to, I don't want to say get violated, but it's time to get Depeched. Maybe that sounds a little better. I don't know if that's a thing. Released in 1990. This is going to be their 7th studio album. Yeah, so this album's been recommended to me a few times, but I also just wanted to listen to them for a while, so now's the time to do so. Quite a long time ago, we had listened to a track from the band. We had listened to Strange Love. But looking at the track list here, I don't believe that I recognize anything on here out of these songs here. So I believe that everything on here will be a first listen, but if I recognize something, of course, I'll let you know. So grab a glass of whatever you want to drink today. It's just water. We're just going to go with a little bit of water. A little bit of the OG there. But grab whatever you want. A little glass of coffee, a cup of coffee, a glass of whiskey, whatever your drink of choice is or your meal of choice. Sit down, relax a little bit, and enjoy the music with me. Of course, if you do enjoy what I do here, you can press the like button before we even get started. You can also support the channel and what I do on Patreon. As little as $2 a month, it helps me. You've probably noticed that I've been trying to do more album listens when I can, because I'm trying to make more time to do so. And I'm able to make more time doing that primarily because of Patreon supporters. So, of course, thank you to everyone on there, but that's how it all works here. So anyways, we're starting off with the first track here, World in My Eyes. We will listen to it. We will talk about it after. Let's jump right in. I hope that you guys are excited. Oh, I forgot to mention people that had recommended this. I'm so sorry. J Birdification, Frank Pentagelli, Carrie Adams, Kay Edmondson, Yoshi Gaming, Francis P., Nathan Clark, Cat-O-Matic, Anna Herring, and Patty Kayada. Those are at least just the names I see. Now we can properly begin. Here we go. World in My Eyes. Let's go. We'll adjust the volumes and stuff as we go. This is that goth rave music. You're in this. Come on. You're in. And they managed to make this dancey, but also have a very epic sound to it. This is going to be one of those albums that I feel like it's going to be moody, dancey, catchy as everything. This is one of those Saturday, maybe even Friday night kind of albums. Maybe Saturday night kind of albums. This is like going to a gothic rave. That's what I'm hearing. This is the gothiest of parties. It's dark, it's moody, it's a little bit eccentric. But oh man, is it fun. Oh man, is this is going to be the party that you make friends at, you know? Sometimes you go to a party and you just kind of like, okay, you know, yeah, it's nice meeting you. We'll hang out sometime. Yeah, give me your number. You never text. You never call. Nothing ever happens, right? This is the kind of party that you make friends at. That was awesome. I love how moody the vocals are on here. I have the list of who's in the band, but it doesn't tell me who's doing what, so I can't use names because I don't know who's doing what. But whoever's singing, I really enjoy their voice just moodily washing over the music. All of the synth work just washes over it. Love how epic this track sounds, while at the same time, like I said, you could easily hear this being played in a club. You could easily hear this being played at a party. It's catchy. It moves you. I also love the drum pattern because the drums, like the main part of the drums, yeah, they're very, like I said, danceable and rhythmic and such. But listen to all the little pops and clicks and sprungs and splings that are going on like around it, and you're pretty much recreating a drummer and a percussionist just in electronic form, with all those, you know, the main drum beat, but also the little clicks, pops, sprungs, and springs, like all those things. You're pretty much recreating that dynamic, which I think the band does a great job of doing so. This is going to be an album that we're just going to chill and listen to today. This is a chill album. Let me take you on a trip around the world and back. You won't have to move. You just sit still. Let your mind do the walking and my body do the talking. Let me show you the world in my eyes. Let me show you how I see you and make you feel how I want to feel you. I'll take you to the highest mountain, to the depths of the deepest sea, and we won't need a map, believe me. Now let my body do the moving, let my hands do the soothing, let me show you the world in my eyes. That's all there is, nothing more than you can feel now. This could, of course, be a romantic rendezvous. This could also be a euphemism for some sort of drug, some sort of trip, and perhaps a high that's going to be happening soon. Who knows? Could be so many things if you want to get into it. Let's see, getting into this particular track here, it says that Dave Gahan, who I believe is the lead vocalist, let me make sure really quick. I just want to make sure I'm kind of, accurate in what I say. Best known as the lead singer of Depeche Mode. Okay, so David is the lead singer. He says, Billboard described the song as Gahan playing horn dog travel agent. Inviting a lover to follow him someplace where pleasure reigns supreme and everything else ceases to exist. And this, it peaked at number 17 in the UK and 52 in the US. Horn dog travel agent. Let's move on into the next track here, which is going to be Sweetest Perfection. Let's get into it. And the wavering, quivering in his voice. Of any kind. What an unexpected but such a good break. Opens up with these strings. Ooh. Okay. Let me back it up real quick. Sweetest Perfection. All right, if this album, genuinely, if this album continues on this path, I think we may have something on our hands. So I love how, first of all, it builds up with that shallow snare pattern, right? It's like, okay, we're coming up from a fade out, we're coming into a fade in. I like that. And then you have this very cold and stark bass pulse that begins in, just kind of echoing and thronging in there. The vocals come in with this kind of romantic, I don't know, not like a sophistopop, but it has the drawl of goth, but a little bit of the romance and suaveness of sophistopop, a little bit. Like, it has a little bit of everything there. Then, eventually, the music has this break where we have all these strings, or at least string-like synths that come in, really fill the atmosphere, fill the air, and it just leads to this really nice breakout moment in the music that I wasn't expecting. Then the drums come on in full, the guitar begins to rip out, and even when it softens back up, you still have those elements lingering. You still have the guitar, just striking the chords, so you can really hear each string being individually picked as it strikes it. It just really nicely builds off of that. This track has great dynamics in the way it builds up, hits a peak, builds down, recreates itself, and then builds itself back up. And then I also like the ending, how things began to swarm together, coalesce into something almost indiscernible and indistinguishable before, of course, it leads into that next track. This was just fantastic because it's an unexpected second track. When you're listening to an album, the first track kind of gets you in, but it's that second and third that keeps you in, I feel. And then the rest of them are kind of like, I guess, an endurance run that you hopefully want to feel refreshed and energized as you listen to it, rather than a downward spiral. So I'm really curious to see how the album progresses from here, but I'm definitely going to say that this is a 2 for 2, and I really like this track. This was really good. Shows something deeper. This was some depth to it. The sweetest perfection to call my own, the slightest correction couldn't finally hone. The sweetest infection of body and mind, sweetest injection of any kind. I stop and I stare too much, afraid that I care too much, and I hardly dare to touch for fear that the spell may be broken. When I need a drug in me and it brings out the thug in me, feel something tugging me, then I want the real thing, not tokens. Now, I mean, he says it, but I'm once again kind of getting the idea he could just be romantically describing someone, or he could be romanticizing a drug, as he kind of says there in the lyrics. Things you'd expect to be having effect on me pass undetectedly, but everyone knows what has got me. Takes me completely, touches so sweetly, reaches so deeply, I know that nothing can stop me. I think that he's talking about a drug of some sort, whether love is the drug, to quote Brian Ferry, or whether it is an actual drug. I'm going with actual, but you really never know. Things are sometimes left up to interpretation. Looking at this particular track, let me see if there's any information on here. I believe that there's something. It says, Billboard pondered whether the sweetest injection is a reference to sex or drugs. The inclusion of the word infection suggests a self-destructive aspect to the narrator's pursuit of pleasure, which actually makes kind of sense. And I guess so far, even though we're 2 tracks in, we are kind of getting a little bit of a love, romantic, but also dark, kind of surreal, kind of perhaps self-inflicted pain kind of aspect. Like we're getting the pain and the pleasure. That's the best way I can describe it. So let's move back into the next track here on Violator. That is going to be Personal Jesus. Not your Jesus, not his Jesus, not her Jesus, but I guess your personal Jesus. Let's go. I'm not your Jesus, so you better find your own. I really like how the band combined rock and the electronic synth side. Okay, Personal Jesus is incredible. There's 2 specific things that I think are really standoutish about this track. One really specific thing, which I'm going to toss to the side just for a moment, just so we can do like a quick overview of that. I really love the combination of rock, kind of alternative rock, and of course the synth pop that we've heard before, except their darker wave version of synth pop. Like just an incredible mix from the drums, from the guitar, the kind of coming in. Well, let me not get too far ahead of myself. The vocals, once again, are just nicely placed, just kind of numb in this track, especially with the chorus, which is your I can't even sing it as deep as your own personal Jesus, like that, right? What I really like about the chorus is it's not like an outwardly energetic, joyous, catchy chorus. He says it very numb, very even. He doesn't come off the plane. And yet at the same time, it's still catchy. You still want to sing along with it. And everyone can sing along with it because it's not like he's going out of range or doing anything crazy. Just saying it kind of right here. And I like that. I think that that's very unique for a chorus to be so, not low energy, but in a sense, low energy, like numb. But that works very well, of course, with the themes, what's going on here, etc., etc. Okay, that's really nice. Like, that's great. This track takes you on a journey. And throughout that journey, there's one thing that I think stands out as why this works so well. To me, it comes down to one word. I think that this is a track that could be studied, that could be sat down with, can be looked at and dissected because of the dynamics. This could be so boring at its length. It's only, almost 5 minutes long. But it could be boring if there weren't dynamics going on. And this is more than just volume increasing and volume decreasing in certain instruments. This is layering. This is the power behind certain hits. It's not just volume, it's power. It's where to pull back and become more subtle. I'm listening to everything here, but I can't help but feel that mostly with the drums and the percussion. I think that the dynamics are just incredible. Especially that ending section as we really get to feel the breaks. Just absolutely wonderfully produced. Who produced this? You know what? I always talk about the band members and stuff, but I really feel that the producer on this and the production has to be mentioned at least and given credit to. So I'm looking at the credits here. It is credited with Depeche Mode on production, but you also have Flood on production here. I don't know who Flood is, but I guess the real name is Mark Ellis. And just looking briefly, he's worked with U2, New Order, Nine Inch Nails, Gary Newman, Ministry, Sneaker Pimps. Listen, there's a reason that he's worked with all these bands and artists and stuff, because you can clearly hear how he brings out that full range here in the music. Sorry you heard the vibration. I forgot to put my Do Not Disturb on. Usually I do that before I record, but I forgot to right now. But that is incredible. I think the production in here specifically can be really looked at and studied. But it just makes the music feel more alive. Because when it comes to a lot of electronic music, synths, and things like that, sometimes it can lose the life behind it. Sometimes it can lose the human feeling behind that. And sometimes that's on purpose, of course. Music like that has its place, obviously. But it is nice to hear that human element behind all the machinery, I guess you could say. And you really get a feel with that here because of those dynamics. For example, in that moment I mentioned at the beginning where you hear the actual drum fill come in right before we kick into the next section, which leads into that little synth that begins there. That's a really nice touch. That's a really nice play there in the music. Fantastic stuff here. Reach out and touch faith, your own personal Jesus, someone to hear your prayers, someone who cares. He repeats that, someone who's there. Feeling unknown and you're all alone, flesh and bone by the telephone. Lift up the receiver, I'll make you a believer. Take second best, put me to the test. Things on your chest you need to confess. I will deliver, you know I'm a forgiver. Reach out and touch faith. So he's basically saying he will be this person's personal Jesus. He will be there for them when they need him there. They will be there to listen, etc., etc. Someone who cares, as he says. Someone to hear their prayers. What I like is kind of the implication that he can be closer to this person than Jesus. Because I guess you would think like, well, Jesus is like your personal Jesus, but he's saying, no, I'll be closer to you than Jesus. And then he keeps on saying, reach out and touch faith, basically to him, I believe. And like I said, I don't believe that this is in some sort of like, I don't know, not in a what's the word? God complex. Like he's not saying like he's better, but he is saying he's closer. But I think that it's in a positive way. He's saying like, yeah, I'm going to be here for you even more than Jesus would be there for you. Just looking at some of the information on this track. Hold on, I'm trying to find it. There it is. Let's see. This reached number 13 on the UK singles and 28 on the Billboard Hot 100. It was their first track to make the US Top 40 since 1984's People Are People. Never heard of that one. Let's see if we can find some information on here. Okay, so it says that it features a catchy bluesy riff, drum bass sound, blah, blah, blah. Although it's not the first to feature guitar, it was the first time a guitar was used as a dominant instrument. Oh, that's what I meant to say. Before I read on, this was I forgot this. All right, you know who I bet, who I can almost guarantee was influenced, what band was influenced by this song? What modern band? This sounds like what Muse bases a part of their sound on. I just totally forgot to say that. I would like thinking about Muse. Some of their music sounds like this, but also like with a Queen vibe too sometimes. Anyways, it's a really good track. Anyway, let's move on into the next one here, which is going to be, hold on, I gotta pull it up. Halo. Let's go. I'm just gonna say, and I know it's a first listen, we're 4 out of 9 songs through the album. Genuinely, if it continues on the path that it has, this will be a perfect album. The different shifts in moods while still staying true to what I can tell is their sound is, I think, absolutely incredible. I love how spacey this track is. There's in the beginning, I should say, not so much halfway and forward, but in the first half of the track, it's so cold, empty, lots of room, lots of space left, really for like little jabs of melody. There's not like a big melody that's overtaking the whole section of that song, but there's just like little blips, little light bugs in the night of melody. It's really that the drums, the percussion, and the space in between that's really left to fill your mind and fill your imagination. And then, of course, the singing, which we'll talk about later on. But halfway through, the music shifts. There's a little bit of a change. The drums come up even harder. The melodies do begin to fill just a little bit more. Then you have the addition of these strings, which come in just swirling around this hurricane. And then one thing I really liked is, I, once again, can't tell you who besides the lead singer, David. I know that he's the lead singer, but one of them, someone else, or him overdubbed, is singing in the background just higher, and I want to say like in a more epic range, basically, because David's kind of singing kind of low down here, but then you have someone else at the very end in that climax that's like crying out like, ah, like not like that. They're just singing higher, but like from the distance echoing forth. And I just think that that's a great effect amongst the strings in that climax. It just makes it stand out so well. But this is incredible. This is a good album. Why didn't y'all tell me about this album? But I'm just kidding. You guys told me like years ago. Yeah, let's get into the lyrics on this one. And didn't it feel like walking into like a club? Like, you know the scene where your main character walks into the club and you see everyone dancing, the camera's at the character's back walking in with them, and like the lines the people are dancing, music's going hard. That's what the beginning of this sounded like. You wear guilt like shackles on your feet, like a halo in reverse. Hold on. That's a good line, but I want to read it again to make sure I get the meaning. You wear guilt like shackles on your feet, like a halo in reverse. Now, there's a few things I think about when I read those lines there. Okay, guilt like shackles on your feet, chaining you, binding you, restraining you. I get that. You wear your guilt like that. But a halo in reverse, while I guess, you know, not physically, but meaning-wise, you know, opposite of a halo of innocence is guilt. Sure, I get that. But literally, a halo is kind of like reversed. It's going to be the same thing. I can feel the discomfort in your seat, and in your head, it's worse. So let's just say someone wronged him and they're watching that person. He can see that they're guilt-ridden. He can see it in just the way that they sit there. But he knows that inside they're feeling it. There's a pain, a famine in your heart, an aching to be free. Can't you see all love's luxuries are here for you and me? And when our worlds, they fall apart, when the walls come tumbling down, though we may deserve it, it will be worth it. When everything goes wrong, when we reap the rewards of whatever we have sown, it's going to hurt, but it was worth it. It was worth the pain. And then they just repeat from there. It says here, songwriter Martin Gore told Anna and me that this track was written about giving in to immorality, yet still feeling a sense of wrongfulness about it. Okay, so just like normal guilt, I guess, from immorality, whatever that immoral thing could be. I'm assuming some sort of cheating. To be honest, I gotta tell you, I read that wrong, like, in my mind, and I thought he said giving in to immortality. And I was like, I did not get any sort of like mythology or immortality story from it. I was like, what did I read? Anyways, it just turns out I can't read. Let's move on into the next track here, huh? Waiting for the Night, which I guess right now it being 1:09 p.m. in the afternoon, I guess you could technically say it's Waiting for the Night. Anyways, let's get into it. Bye-bye.
I'm waiting for the night to fall, and when I squinted, the world seemed
How the mood of the music changes when that bass comes. Oh man, Waiting for the Night is our atmospheric break. Incredible, absolutely brilliantly built up. I love how gentle and nocturnal it really feels in the very beginning. It just so calmly takes its time. Very well paced in its build up. Can I tell you, in the first few moments when the lead singer comes in and starts singing, listen, maybe this is my way of coping a little bit and bringing it up, but I could have heard David Sylvian singing on it for just a brief moment. I know that in my mind, there's always David Sylvian running around, and I think that I'm always trying to make some sort of connection, but I was just picturing, I'm like, wow, you know, this would be really interesting, and if Sylvian went into a more electronic direction. I know he did with Nine Horses and stuff. Anyways, we're not talking about Nine Horses, we're talking about Depeche Mode. One thing I really loved about this track, and that a lot of other bands may have gone for it and fallen for, but I'm actually really glad that Depeche Mode didn't do this. Through the build-up, they get into those big moments where the synths and everything really build up to this nice big, you know, it's a heated moment, but they never let drums come in. There's no moment where we have like a Phil Collins moment where like the drums come dun da dun dun and then like get into this big ba da da ba, like big powerful moment. We don't get that tidal wave. The wave is in the melodies itself and the way that everything is moving already. We don't need that to come in and basically crash the party, which I thought was a really smart choice, because I was listening to it and I was so, I guess you could say, drenched with that atmosphere and the melodies that they were building from all this subtlety, that we didn't need the drums to come in and kind of take away, I guess you could say, the beauty from that moment. I just really like that choice and how they came up with that and how they held the reins back on those horses, I guess you could say, if anything else. I thought that was a really intelligent decision. Also, I really like how the music goes from, I would say, somewhat light into somewhat dark, primarily because of just that strong bass pulse that comes in. When it does come in, that constant dun dun dun, dun like that, it comes in and it kind of changes and shifts the mood of the music, and it feels a little bit darker. But as soon as that exits, we're kind of left once again in the winds of little pops, and that's when it feels like light and still a little bit of mystery, but not so heavy. I think that was a really wonderful choice. And then in the second half, you can really get a feel for all the ambience and once again the dynamics that are taking place under the music and all the subtlety, because you hear you hear other vocals in the back. There's a sound that sounded like vocals processed through some sort of synth, but it could just be me. It just sounded like there was a lot of whispering and background subtle harmonies and things that were happening in the back in that latter half that really just added to the dense nature of the music, but at the same time feeling so light, like a musical souffle. Lyrics on this one: I'm waiting for the night to fall. I know that it will save us all. When everything's dark, keeps us from the stark reality. I'm waiting for the night to fall when everything is bearable, and there in the still, all that you feel is tranquility. If I'm already taking a leap on what this could be about, I would say that in the daytime, in the light, all that you see and all that you are is revealed. However, in the night, you are hidden under the cover of darkness, and so you can perhaps be a little bit more yourself and comfortable. There is a star in the sky guiding my way with its light, and in the glow of the moon, know my deliverance will come soon. There is a sound in the calm, someone is coming to harm. I press my hands to my ears, it's easier here just to forget fear. Kind of like when you're a kid and you're scared, or you could be an adult and you're scared. When you don't want to come to reality with the things that you fear, and the things that you fear perhaps are in front of you, facing you, you close your eyes, you cover your ears, and you try to do your best to perhaps ignore it or pretend that it's gone. Hence why when we're kids, we go under the covers, we go under the blanket, we try to hide from the inevitable boogeyman. Anyways, this is awesome. Hey, you know that I do this sometimes when we're doing full album listens. I like to see who's still watching. So if you're still watching, all you got to do, just tell me just tell me your favorite shirt that I wear. It could be this shirt. You could just say this shirt. Or you could tell me like it's one of my random tank tops or whatever. Just tell me my favorite shirt that I wear. And if it's your first time here, just say this shirt. I know it. That way I know that you're here. Anyways, a little over halfway through. Let's move on into the next track here, which is going to be Enjoy the Silence. That big spacey throne. We're gonna talk about this one. Okay, we got to talk about this. There's a few things to talk about with Enjoy the Silence. Okay, so one, I've definitely heard this song before, so this is not a first reaction. However, what is a first reaction is after 4 minutes, when it gets into its thing, this new thing, I've never heard that before. So I'm assuming that there's a single version, which I have heard, but I've never heard that second half. I want to talk about the second half first, because the first half I'm already familiar with, and we'll kind of glance at it. But that second half, I thought that when it faded out, I thought the band was actually going to make us enjoy the silence for 2 minutes, and it was just going to be silence. And that's why I was like, oh, I'm going to start talking if that's what we're doing, because no one wants to sit here in silence, in that kind of thing. Anyway, so we in John Cage, which was a hilarious prank that you guys pulled on me years ago. Okay, but when it comes back in with just those little pulses, with just the little atmosphere in there, and then you have that voice, that whatever he says, right? That sounds like, I can't remember, I don't know why I'm forgetting, and I'm struggling to remember the first track off of Metal from Pink Floyd, but that sounds exactly like the, I'm gonna cut you into pieces, or whatever he says. That sounds exactly like that, which is just really funny, how that's kind of brought in. But I thought that was a really nice kind of ending, a little bit of a twist ending to this particular track, which I know for a fact is a very well-known song. And I was thinking how it was kind of cool how they completely cut that off and went into something completely different. Probably in setup of the next track. Once again, well, I don't know if I've said this actually already. The track listing for this album is perfect. the way that they combine and put one song here for a certain mood, the next song here for a certain mood, is absolutely brilliant. And I think that a lot of I know a lot of care goes into the track list and how things are placed on an album, of course, but I just want to say that it's not always well done. Depeche Mode with Violator have been 10 out of 10 on their track list, putting you in one mood here, another mood here, giving us the atmosphere from the previous track, no drums at all, into coming down into one of their catchiest, drummiest, clubbiest, I don't know, like best songs ever. I just think that that's really intelligent how they put everything there together, and I think that's something that's a little bit overlooked, I would say sometimes. Like in albums, like I said, I know a lot of care goes into it, but I don't think a lot of, I guess I'll say reviewers, mention the track list and how it actually flows and the feelings flow in an album. What are we even going to say about Enjoy the Silence? Let me back it up real quick. I don't know. It's a track that speaks for itself. It has everything that we've mentioned from the previous tracks, just in the layering and the layering and the layering. I love his singing here. I love the phrasing. What does he say? Like the way he breaks up the words a little bit gives it a little bit of like a nice flow as well. And I love the way he sings in there. And then the here in my arms and the little harmonies that push along with that. Then that very nice guitar line that comes in sounds a little bit not grunge, but a little bit what's that other genre? Not dream pop, shoegazy, I guess you could say. It's just a very simple line, and yet it adds just so much atmosphere to everything. The danceability of it. I mean, listen. I love how slap happy that snare is. Just. I love that. I'm loving the production on this album. That is incredible. That is good. I'm loving this. This is a great album to listen to. That's all I gotta say. I've already heard this track. You guys just heard this track. What else is there for me to say that hasn't been said by the band themselves in this track? Words like violence break the silence, come crashing into my little world. Painful to me, pierce right through me. Can't you understand, oh my little girl? Even the way that I'm reading these lyrics does not capture at all the flow in which he delivers these words. All I ever wanted, all I ever needed is here in my arms. Words are very unnecessary. They can only do harm. This moment that you and I are in, even this moment that you and I are in right now, we don't always need to have words. We don't always need to explain it. That would shatter the feeling, that would shatter the immediacy of this particular moment that you and I are feeling. We don't need anything else. We don't need to say anything. We don't need to do anything. Just enjoy this moment. Enjoy the silence. Vows are spoken to be broken. Feelings are intense. Words are trivial. Pleasures remain. So does the pain. Words are meaningless and forgettable. And he repeats the words from there. So I think of this as a very deep relationship that you have with another person where you don't need words. He continually actually speaks against words, acting or saying like they're violence against the silence and against the moments, which I think is a really great way, an artistic way of just showing the strength of a relationship between two or more people, really. It says that this is Depeche Mode's highest charting song in the US and, of course, one of their top 10 hits in the UK, won Best British Single in 1991. It says about the making of this track, it was kind of a half song, Gahan put it, or said, and Alan and Flood, who was producing the album, had this idea to put a beat to it. Vocalist Dave Gahan explained that Enjoy the Silence began as a very slow ballady, couple of verses, but they converted it into a danceable new wave hit. It was the very nature of I thought the very nature of the song was, enjoy the silence. So it ought to have a very serene atmosphere. It took me a while to get used to the idea, but as we took it further that way with the guitar riff, it really pulled it together. I want to see if there's any information on the ending of the album, because I just feel like that's like unique, I would say, to have that in there, but I'm not necessarily seeing anything here on their Wikipedia page for this particular track. So maybe that's just me thinking that that's very interesting. But anyways, it is. Let's move on into the next track here on the album, which is going to be Policy of Truth. Oh, let's go. I like the guitar just moaning there in the back. Interesting. You know, I would like to hear those little endings, like from the last track and even here with the guitar. I would kind of like to hear those extended or carried on a little bit. I mean, for all I know, it might extend into this next track, Blue Dress, but I don't know. It's like it leads into something kind of different and interesting. Like, ooh, what's going on here? Like, hold up a second. But then it kind of ends, and I'm like, okay, well, at least it was a nice, moment while we had it. Enjoying the moment, enjoying the silence. This track, I'll be 100% honest. It's a good track. If I had heard this track without the context of the album, I would have liked it a lot more. However, as it is, and in the context of the album on a first listen, I think it's really good. I just don't think it hits personally quite the same. It doesn't hit those perfect marks that each of the other tracks was hitting for me. And I can't exactly tell you why, because I would never go as far as to say that this is filler or anything like that. No. It's a still very high quality song. It just, personally, every song before it has had something that really stood out to me and really carried it over the edge. This one I feel is really good. It just doesn't have that exact oomph. But I would definitely come back to the restaurant. Does that make sense? It should make sense. I still like it. It's just, I'm just saying, up front, it's not like my favorite off the album, which I could kind of say every song off of here has just been 10, 10, 10, 10, 10. This is like an 8. If that helps, that should be enough. I like the use of the guitar throughout, whether it is just that like that one line that comes in sustaining that note, or there was even a little bit of a riff that did the same thing. The singing is once again great, has great danceability. I could hear this in a club, I could hear this in a party, I could hear this in all these places. I just really liked what was going on before. I don't know. This one's just missing a little bit something to me. And I do see that this one also charted. It says that this was the only Depeche Mode single to chart higher on the US Billboard Hot 100 than the UK singles chart. Charted at number 15 on US, number 16 on the UK there. So obviously it did very well, and I'm sure a lot of people love this track. Like I said, it's good. Just not 10 good. You had something to hide, should have hidden it, shouldn't you? That's a good line. It's calling you out. Now you're not satisfied with what you're being put through. It's just time to pay the price for not listening to advice and deciding in your youth on the policy of truth. Things could be so different now. It used to be so civilized. You will always wonder how it could have been if you'd only lied. I think it's interesting that he's calling out this other person for telling the truth and for adopting a policy of truth. And yes, sometimes there are repercussions for telling the truth. Yes, there are. But I like how he's saying, if you'd only lied, you could have avoided all this. Whatever that is. Now you're standing there tongue-tied. You'd better learn your lesson well. Hide what you have to hide and tell what you have to tell. Don't tell too much. Tell just enough. Don't have to say everything. Never again is what you swore the time before. Never again is what you swore the time before. I think that's actually hilarious. You don't have to give it all away. You don't have to say everything. You ain't got to do all of that. It says here, Alan Wilder developed on the making of the song. It's a single note sampled from a guitar and then looped and played from a keyboard. The loop is what gives it the vibrato effect. With Policy of Truth, it took forever to find a lead riff sound which worked. We even tried a flute at one point, which would be actually really interesting to hear that. Let's move on into the next track, the second to last track here on the album, which is going to be Blue Dress. Is it blue or is it white and gold? There you go.
Please don't question why. Can you?
We're getting another fade out into silence or something, because there's still over a minute left right now. All right, it's obviously going to transition into the next track clean. How interesting is it that the band is now continually adding on these little fade outs from the main track, and I guess you could almost say like a little mini bonus track within each of these songs at the ending. And then I can't speak for this one because it did sound like it was going to transition, but each of those kind of have been their own little mini songs within the song, which is I think just really cool. I would like to hear more development from it, but at the same time, I'm incredibly pleased with what I hear every time that they do that. I think that that is just a really neat idea that they're doing. Anyways, I just had to mention that. Blue dress. this this is what I mean. Like this sounds so unique in the album. Once again, it sounds innocent, but I feel like there's also like nefarious purpose behind it, because even the way he's singing is, it's suave to an extent, but there's like something else behind it. And here, and I could be wrong, I could be off, but this is just my opinion. He's sounding a little bit like Brian Ferry from Roxy Music here. And Brian Ferry, especially when you listen to him, he has that romantic feeling. He has that suaveness. But there's something a little else going on. Like there's usually something going on there. And I'm kind of getting a similar feeling here, especially with how repetitive it is. It's kind of like this hypnotic moth drawn to a flame. Put it on. And the way he keeps on saying it, it sounds a little sussy. And then I really like those little breaks that happen just before moving on into the music, when you have him just kind of singing on his own. The guitar kind of comes in, and then it once again gets back into that beat, which is a very heavy, very moving beat with all these eerie synths, kind of eerie but beautiful synths kind of coming in and out of it. That is just they just build such a unique atmosphere, and I think that that's cool that they're doing that so late here in the album, as we're at the second to last track here. Sorry, I didn't mean to do that. I didn't mean to do that. Sorry about that. That was a jump scare for some of you. Put it on and don't say a word. Put it on, the one that I prefer. Putting on and stand before my eyes. Put it on. Please don't question why. Can you believe something so simple, something so trivial makes a man happy? Can't you understand? Say you believe just how easy it is to please me, because when you learn, you'll know what makes the world turn. See, that's where I feel like there's something going, right? Like there's something else. Like, let's just say that he's telling this woman, his lover, whoever, just put it on. Put on this blue dress. It may not even be his lover. You could have really applied this to so many things. But then he says, see how easy it is when you understand just what makes the world turn? Which feels like there's a slight element of perhaps like a little misogyny in here. Like, he's saying, see, all you have to do is do what I say, do what I, the man, say, and you'll see what makes the world turn. I feel like they're like, right? Maybe I'm looking on into it too much, but I don't think so. Put it on, I can feel so much. I don't need to touch here before my eyes, because you realize you believe something so worthless serves a purpose. It makes me a happy man, can't you understand? And he repeats what he said before. That's where I'm feeling a little bit of misogyny there, right there. Like, something so worthless serves a purpose. If it's worthless, why does it matter? The dress. I feel like he's not just talking about the dress. He's talking about the person. I think that's what he's kind of aiming at. I think so. I think so. And I mean, obviously, he's like calling it out. It's not like the lead singer feels this way, but he's of course telling a story. That's what I think is going on. Let's see. Martin Gore himself famously called Blue Dress the pervy song, explaining that it was based upon the idea of watching a girl dress and realizing that this is what makes the world turn. I mean, yeah. That's pervy. Yeah. Okay. Unless there's consent involved. Anyways, let's move on into the last track here on the album, the final track. Thank you guys so much for being here on this journey of the album. I've enjoyed this thing immensely. So I'm going to play the last few seconds of Blue Dress, because it did sound like it was going to kind of fade into it. And then we'll let it go into the final track, which is Clean. Let's go. It sounds like tightening something. That pulse sounds like the exact same Pink Floyd song I was thinking of before. What's that? I love this rambling swing in his delivery there. It's fading out now. What an awesome ending Clean is. Okay, I love the drums in here. The drums. And then that rising. And then like the little synths, like all of this layer, the dynamics once again is just incredible in here. I love his swing when he's singing like that. I guess it kind of sounds like Strawberry Fields. I just did that, but I'm not saying that he sounds like Strawberry Fields. It just has that similar swing to it. that rhythm. That is really great. That is awesome delivery. I like how epic this track sounded while still doing something new, bringing a finality to the cause of the album. And then I like how we have this instrumental that allows itself to kind of really fade out, obviously, but vocals leave, and then we get just a little bit of time with just the music, which once again just continually reinvents itself and builds off of what's been done before. I think that was fantastic. I'm telling you, the bass line sounded like I seriously cannot remember at the moment, but the first track off of Metal, Pink Floyd, just like that vocal thing that happened, a few songs back, sounded like that I'm gonna got you or whatever he said. Anyways, but this was such a really, really fantastic final track for the album. I think that this is incredible. I think that this album is incredible. Let's just say that. Clean, the cleanest I've been, an end to the tears and the in-between years, and the troubles I've seen now that I'm clean, you know what I mean. I've broken my fall, put an end to it all, I've changed my routine, now I'm clean. He could be talking about so many different things that he's clean from. We could once again be talking about drugs, or we could once be talking about he's clean from this perhaps terrible relationship he was in. He could be talking about so many things, but the point is he's clean. Maybe he's found his personal Jesus. He's clean now. I don't understand what destiny's planned. I'm starting to grasp what is in my own hands. I don't claim to know where my holiness goes. I just know that I like what is starting to show. As years go by, all the feelings inside twist and they turn as they ride with the tide. I don't advise and I don't criticize. I just know what I like with my own eyes. He's not trying to give advice. He's not trying to be an example necessarily for others. He just knows that what he did worked for him. He doesn't know if it'll work for others, and he doesn't, like I said, want to be like a mentor or give advice to others who may be in similar situations. He just says, this worked for me, and now I find myself clean, and he says, the cleanest I've been. Let me look and see if there's any info on this particular track, like the others there. In 2015, Rolling Stone pondered, what is the underlying message in this track? Hold on. Every once in a while I win one, guys. Every once in a while I win one. Maybe everyone knew this and I'm just, Johnny come lately. In 2015, Rolling Stone pondered, what is the underlying message to Depeche Mode's Pink Floyd riffing on Clean? A comment on how the song's opening bass guitar riff is highly reminiscent of One of These Days. I said that. I said that. However, I didn't see anything mentioned for the other track in which we had that like that part. There's no information about that. I don't see anything here. I'm trying to see if there is anything else, but I don't see any information like about Pink Floyd in here or why they did that or if that was purpose. Okay, here you go. Said Wilder, Pink Floyd were doing something very different to anyone else at the time. You can hear electronics in there and the influences of classical music. It's got a very repetitive synthesized sound, and the bass riffs with the echo have a very hypnotic groove that underpins it. We basically nicked that idea for Clean. Okay, so here's the thing, like I said, once again, yeah, I caught that one, but I don't see anyone mentioning the other thing happen. Anyways, guys, let me know what you thought of this incredible album, because I think that this was such a good album. Did you guys enjoy that? I really hope that you guys enjoyed listening to that through with me for however long we've been sitting here. It's probably at least been an hour, but I sincerely hope that you enjoyed this. Let me rephrase. I loved every single track on here. Policy of Truth is my least favorite. I mean, it's obvious from even what I said during the reaction, but it's still a good track, It's just I feel like the others hit 10s. That one hits an 8. It hits great. It's nice, but, it's not my favorite. I would say that Enjoy the Silence, Sweetest Perfection, Halo, Waiting for the Night are my favorites. I chose so many favorites. Oh, man, but it's true. I'm not lying to you. So, man, listen, it is now 2:02 p.m. It's definitely been over an hour. So, it has been over an hour. Thank you so much for watching, for being here with me, for spending some time. Like I said in the beginning, grab a drink, grab a glass, grab a plate of food, whatever you're doing. You might be watching this eating dinner. You might be watching this eating breakfast. You may be watching this, I don't know what you're doing, sitting outside, doing your thing. Wherever you are. You might be in the garden, tending to your roses. thank you for spending the time with me. I really do appreciate that. I hope that you enjoyed the music, of course. And once again, please let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you do want to support the channel, do want to support what I do, you love these album listens, you like these album listens, you enjoy the album listens, you can do so for as little as $2 a month over on Patreon. It helps me out a great deal. And that's kind of the video. That's it. I gotta work on my endings, but I don't, you know who doesn't have to work on their endings? Depeche Mode. Hey, have a wonderful rest of your day. I appreciate you, and I will hopefully see you all tomorrow, guys. Bye.